And we are live with episode 171 of the Start Bill Grow Show. Randy Brothers, my friend, what's going on? How we doing?
Living the dream, man. This time of year is go time, right? It's busy. Everybody seems to be real busy making things happen. So, for those of you joining us, thank you for taking the time. For those of you listening on the podcast, thank you for taking the time, and I appreciate the support, the likes, subscribes, the awesome feedback we've gotten for 171 episodes. But talking about being busy, I mean, we probably got the arguably the hardest working man in the roofing business. We pinned him down in his truck, pulled over, trying to come hang out with us. Second, third time you've been on the show, but a good friend of mine, like industry icon, Jonathan Sherwood. Thanks for joining us, my friend.
Right on, guys. It's super exciting, man. I mean, 171 episodes. I can
Hmm.
It's
remember
crazy.
when it was in the single digits.
Yeah.
It's like time just flies. And hats off to you guys. 171 episodes, not missing episodes, bringing on guests, sometimes bringing on multiple. And you know what I love the most about it? It's like anybody who wants to watch it can watch it for free. And you're just giving away value. So thank you. I love that. And that's why I love being a part of it.
Well, thank
Absolutely.
you.
And
That's the reason, right? I mean, bring on people that can provide that value. We just get to hang out and learn just like our guests get, and just like our viewers get to learn, man. It's fun.
mhm.
Hmm.
Yeah, well, hey, Sherwood, man, everybody sees you all over Facebook, all over social media, the video content that you're putting out, right? You've won awards for being one of the best marketing people in the space, right? So people see who you are now, right? We know who you are now, the success you're having in the space, the impact you're having in the space. But how did you actually get into roofing, man? What was your story that got you, or what was your journey that got you where you are today?
Yeah, so kind of a loaded question there. So how I got into roofing was on accident. I didn't think
Seems
that
about
it
right.
was going to be this lucrative career, and I definitely didn't think 14 years ago I was going to be flying around the United States telling people how I got to where I'm at, how to duplicate it, and doing commercial roofs all over the nation. I'm just kind of in awe what God decided to do with my life in the roofing space. But when I first got into roofing, I was going bankrupt, and I had a gentleman that I went to church with, and I was struggling with addiction and bound by a lot of things. I was not a very good man. And this gentleman was taking inbound calls for failing merchant devices or credit card machines that weren't working appropriately. He had four kids and he was making, I think at this time, eight and a quarter, $8.50 an hour. So he really wasn't making a lot of money. A really nice guy. He started working for his stepdaughter's uh, father, who owned Genesis Exteriors in Colorado back then, and he ended up doing like 800,000 in revenue in I think it was like 6 or 7 months. And he was not a good salesman. He was just a really good guy. And I was like, man, if this guy can do this, I could really probably make some money doing this. I had no idea what I was doing at this point in time. So I wanted to get into roofing. I went and worked for this gentleman had opened his own company at the time. I worked there for a week, saw what they were doing, and I went to my friend. I was like, we should open a roofing company. And he was like, you know nothing about roofing. And by the way, this friend of mine is Greg Marthaler. He's the owner of SF. We were partners
Great
for
dude.
years. Yeah, really good guy. And he goes, the one thing I do know, he goes, is when you're sober, you're the best salesman in shoe leather. When you're sober. He goes, if I could get you to stay sober, I'd love to be your partner. And I'm thinking, okay, yeah, let's do it. So this this guy's got $15,000 in unemployment money saved up. We had enough money to get cards, general liability, and then we need a truck, right? So you got this guy who, if you know Greg, is a big guy, real big guy. And then you got me. I'm not a small guy. I'm like 6'3", 200 something pounds, and we get a green Ford Ranger and two guys in a two-seater, and the windows don't even roll up, and you can hear the ladder rack, you can hear the lock of ladder rack. We're trying to talk to adjusters and he's clanking around. We're fighting for the armrest all the time. Who's going to be on the phone? And that's all we had money for. And we get into roofing and we start working in Morgan County. So those people that are listening and don't know what Morgan County is, it's like Fort Morgan, Akron, Sterling and stuff out in the eastern plains of Colorado, tip of Nebraska. And we're working old store damage, and I'm knocking doors and I'm selling storm that like probably a year old and getting claims. And I'm like, wow, this can be really lucrative. So I started taking it serious, went to Hague, and really started building it up. Well, fast forward September of 2016, that same company we started with, that Ford Ranger, was branded, had a fleet of trucks, and we sold it to the regional operations manager, John Mansville. Meanwhile, I was already going back and forth between Texas and Denver, just kind of a commercial gun for hire because the business was operating itself. And then I took a position at a development company that was predominantly residential, high-end development, and some commercial, but not in roofing. Grew their commercial roofing platform, took their vice president's chair, then got moved up to president. And then I said, man, I sold my company. I don't ever want to own a roofing company again. And I don't want to work for anybody. I'm going to become a consultant or just a gunslinger or a gun for hire. Well, then I started doing that and saw the social media and the roofers helping roofers. And then I needed the control of the crews with the foam and coating because it was my brand I had to protect, the warranty claims, things being done appropriately. Because at that point, I just was a glorified subcontractor, right? So then I opened up a national foam and coatings company, which is Surefire Seamless Systems. And I ended up doing the one thing I said I would never do again. And that was own another roofing company. So here I am today with Roofers Helping Roofers and the Surefire Seamless Systems. But that's the funny story on how I got into it. It was never really a planned thing to do. It just happened. And then it ended up being the best thing that ever could have happened to me because I
Yeah.
met some of my best friends and I've seen so many lives transformed for the greater good. And I just absolutely love it.
Well, Randy, you always say roofing finds you, right?
Yep. None of us, it's funny, 171 times we've had these conversations. And obviously, some people have been on there multiple times, but never once has someone said, yeah, when I was, a kid, I just wanted to be a roofer. I wanted to be in roofing.
Yeah, never hear
Every
that.
one of us has some sort of other journey, other plans in life. And then it just says, no, then God says, nope, you're going to be in roofing. Okay, I guess I'm going to be in roofing. It kind of finds us, right?
hmm
Yeah,
So,
I agree.
obviously, Jonathan, when we got you on the horn, we're going to be talking a whole ton about commercial roofing, right? Different marketing strategies, sales strategies, different tips. We're going to talk about, foam and coatings, and everything like that. But the biggest thing I want to start it out with is these people who, have a residential company and they're interested in making that transition or also including a commercial division for the roofing company. Do you have any tips for developing that commercial division? And how do you know when the time is right when you're ready to kind of make that jump?
So, in my experience, successful, sustainable commercial roofing companies, or even roofing companies, maybe it's a mixture of residential and commercial, or maybe it's all predominantly residential. Those successful companies that are growing and sustaining the growth and growing appropriately are always planning. For instance, they're
Hmm.
having meetings right now for Q1, 2, 3, and 4 of next year, and probably even Q1 of 2023. So, what's that lead me to say? Strategically planning prior to execution.
Mm,
The other thing is, it's a cash flow business, right? It's
yeah.
like you got to really vet yourself and see if you're ready to go in the commercial financially. What funds can you allocate? Obviously, they're probably in residential already. They're going to use that cash flow to help push them in the commercial. So, what funds can you allocate? And I'm not going to say burn the money because you're going to see a return on it, but you're not going to see a return on it for a while. So, what do you have to market? How can you market? And with that budget, what are you going to do? What events can you do? What can you actually afford to do? And where you're not going to pinch yourself cash flow wise by doing that. So, vetting yourself, strategically
Hmm.
planning to execute, and then vetting your actual self to see where you're ready at. And then also, we talk about this at the Commercial Roofing Academy and Roofers Helping Roofers is, being ready to adjust your mindset from the
Yeah.
residential mindset to the commercial mindset. You're not going to go out there and just start knocking doors and pencil whipping people and signing claims and and just busting out work. You're going to be doing comprehensive line item scope of work and proposals, material data sheets, sample warranties, multiple meetings with clients. And, nobody typically makes those, real quick decisions when you're talking about large commercial. Usually, they get the price, they're either getting the funds together, meeting with the board of directors, or allocating funds for it. There's more that kind of goes into it. And there's a little bit longer process to it as well. So it's just like strategic planning, vetting yourself appropriately, and seeing where you fit in and how much you're going to dive into it so you don't put a pinch on your baby, which is helping you get there.
Man, I love that you mentioned that, because I'm going to do a shameless plug in a minute. So for those of you, just pay attention. But as just as a put on my roofing owner hat and explain that process, like 5 years ago was when I was like, you know what? We had done, right? Most roofers, right? You're in business a little bit. You're gonna, every once in a while you stumble across that commercial job and you fumble your way through it, or you try to do it, or you outsource it or sub it to somebody or whatever. I was that company doing maybe one or two a year, and like, okay, I'll do it when I get it. And with the, okay, I want to, and then lost my ass on a couple of them. I'm like, oh, maybe this isn't something I want to play with. But once I made that decision through my strategic planning process. So that's one of the things that I've done as a business for many years, is I'm very intentional about planning myself, my leadership team, and strategic planning our business. Every year we build out a very, in-depth strategic plan on what we're going to do and how we're going to grow our business and how we're going to diversify. But in doing that 5 years ago, the vision and the plan was, we're going to start a roofing division. And it started with, myself and one other person. And then it was okay, we're going to grow. We had one or two service techs at that time. Okay, we're going to add a couple more service techs and try to really start selling ourselves and doing more service work. And then we're going to start, connecting with more centers of influence, more property managers, and more, as we're doing business development, we started getting more opportunities to do that. And then we were like, okay, well, when we get the work done, we'll kind of find someone we can partner with that we can, kind of outsource and let them handle it and take all the risk. And so we did that a couple times. And then step by step, we were able to kind of position ourselves as not just a residential roofer, but we had to kind of position ourselves in our market as a commercial roofer. And it takes a while to do that. You got to have a plan of how are you going to execute that. And service is huge. You got to be able to do service. You got to be responsive. You got to have good in-house people that know what they're doing. You got to not just hope that you hire a crew that knows what they're doing and just cross your fingers and hope that you're not going to lose your business over one big deal. You got to know what you're doing, and you got to have someone and hire people that know what they're doing and be intentional about it. It took 3-4 years to get to a place where commercial was a large percentage of our business, and we're doing commercial all of the time, like back to back to back to back, as well as a full staff. Not to mention, do you have to have the cash flow to float the jobs? But when you start actually building a commercial department, you're paying serious overhead for that as well. So you nailed it. You got to plan that out one step at a time. And of course, to plug Jonathan and some of the things you guys are doing at the Commercial Academy, and but really the best place to build that plan and connect with all the right people and really connect and really put that together is the reason why we're doing the Growth Mastermind in January. Also, the reason why I've partnered with Jonathan, I partnered with the Commercial Roofing Academy, because not only are we going to focus on developing ourselves as leaders and leadership teams of a business, we're going to build a strategic plan. And then we're going to learn from the best in the business on how to build and grow a commercial department as well as a service department. That's what we're doing in 3 days at the Mastermind.
It's awesome.
Now, I'm glad that you guys talked about this, right? We're talking about how to build out a commercial division for a residential company, right? Trying to make that leap, make that jump that most companies want to do. And, you guys both kind of touched on it. Randy, you were talking about the main focus of service, right? Now, when I talk to some companies that might be newer in the commercial space, it sounds like they're not really interested in repairs or service work. Now, is it possible to make that leap without that, or do you need that repair and service to kind of to build out that department, build out your book of business, and build out those accounts?
So I can only give my experience in it and, kind of my biased opinion. But my biased opinion in this, and you hear me say it all the time. So let's deal with the repairs first. I tell
Mm-hmm.
people all the time, don't sleep on commercial repairs. And let me
Mm-hmm.
give you just what I feel is two solid reasons why. One, commercial repairs can be used as marketing dollars. I'll give you a great example. I had a multifamily roof system over by SMU. They gave us a call. They had a chimney cover fall down. Chimney cover falls down. Oh, I can't remember exactly. Let's say maybe I was going to charge them $1,300 to put it back on, reuse that chimney cover. I had to get a little boom, things of that nature. But I noticed when I was there, it had multiple layers of asphalt shingles on top of wood sake shingles on top of like 10, 12 pitch. And I was like, wow, this roof's going to need to be replaced soon, and it's going to need quite a bit of work, and it's going to be a very lucrative project. So I went back, finished it, and said, hey, listen. They're like, where's the bill? I said, there is no bill. I said, I'm going to go ahead and do that for you. I'd like your vendor packet. I want to be able to bid this roof when you do it. A year and a half later, it was a seven-figure job. So then what I learned from that is I started using repairs as marketing dollars and a way to get
Damn.
in the door. One, a lot of other contractors didn't want to deal with it. And if it was minimal, I would go in and do it, and they'd say, no cost. Just remember me. No cost. Just remember me. And I didn't do it all the time because that's not a sustainable business practice, but I did use it as marketing dollars. So one, don't sleep on them because you can use marketing dollars. And then two, they're very lucrative. So my original business model before we had a repair department would be I had a guy that could do a lot of single ply, foam and coating, just small types of repairs, shingle repairs, and whatever he charged, I charged the client double a minimum, sometimes triple. So they were very lucrative as far as profit margin, and you got paid right away. So it was great operating capital to put into the business that actually grew to a repair department. I know
Mm-hmm.
some repair departments now at some larger organizations that do between 2 and 3 million a year, but they run like 100% profit margin on that 2 to 3 million a year, which can do the math on them. They'll run even a 50% profit margin on that 2 to 3 a year, just depending on how they have it structured. So it can be very lucrative financially, and it can get you in the door, and it can be used as marketing dollars because, like we said, when we're starting out and we're deciding how much money do we have for marketing, you might not want to burn a bunch of money, doing social media marketing or commercials or billboards or sponsoring and stuff, but it might not be a big deal to, here's 300 or 400 here, 500 there, and just pay for some repairs at no cost and then tell them after the fact. So I'm a
Mm-hmm.
strong believer in commercial repairs. I think they open a lot of doors, and they can make good money, and you can use that money for marketing dollars.
I love that. What do you think of that, Randy? Marketing dollars. I
Y-
love that mindset.
Yeah, well, it depends on what budgets you have, and market you're in, and those sort of things. We've done that. We don't necessarily have to though, because if you can be competitive and show up and answer your phone and do a good job and stand behind your work, you don't necessarily have to leverage the marketing dollars. You can still build that relationship and get paid for your work, right?
Agreed.
In my
Mm-hmm.
case, it's a little bit different because I have a lot of overhead with that. I got a full service team and trucks and all the things I don't want to go. You got to be careful, and I think that's one thing Jonathan will say too is you got to be careful as to when the right timing is for, hey, here's this one's
Right.
on me,
That was the
versus,
right time when he knew
hey,
that roof was probably going to
exactly.
need some kind of
Yeah.
replacement.
Yeah,
Yep.
be
Yep.
very intentional about it. Don't just give it away, because you don't want to just give away what could be you got a business to run as well.
Hmm.
Yep.
What else? I mean, we're already on the topic of marketing, right? What are other really popular, effective methods? Is it mostly networking, shaking hands? I mean, sponsoring stuff. What do you think is the most popular and effective methodologies of generating opportunities?
So, in my experience, networking is huge.
Hmm.
I would say that all of my multifamily comes majority of it from networking and sponsoring events. Then I would say a big portion of my subcontract portfolio comes from social media marketing. And
Hmm.
I would say that a lot of my retail commercial comes from referrals. And then, unfortunately, I only do a few claims a year now. I work on a lot of businesses that have sustained collateral damage, but they're usually for another contractor. So I only get those claims a few times a year in the commercial gambit, which I call like my home run. So social media marketing, networking, sponsoring events, and word of mouth referral for me personally. But I've
Hmm.
also operated organizations that were very strong on search engine optimization, being the SEO,
Yeah.
and pay-per-click. And I mean, they were crushing it off of pay-per-click, 6 years ago in Dallas. So I've also ran operations and been sales managers for, telemarketing leads, and where we did a
Mm-hmm.
combination of PPC, SEO, and telemarketing leads. So I've been around a lot of it, but at this current stage, it's the social media, the networking, the referral, and the sponsoring.
So
Mm-hmm.
let me you take this opportunity to let you know, Jonathan, but also to kind of, I mean, this literally just happened. Okay, I missed a phone call from a client of mine in a market that we'll keep private for now. Um, that started work with Nick and his team, right?
Okay.
Just want to let you know, bro, I've been pounding these leads from Suma. I've got 5 appointments set over the next 6 days
Like, yeah, I'd like to
after
hear that.
after working with Nick and his team. So I'm gonna give you some love. I know we don't put it out there enough, but like Nick's and his team, that's kind of one of the things they've kind of developed a niche for and specialize in, is opening those doors, finding the decision makers, finding the owners of buildings, finding these people and that we can network with, and then actually reaching directly out to them to find those opportunities. So
Mm-hmm.
shout out to Nick, man. And my boy just called me and he was all excited about it. So
Heck yeah, I'd
Yeah, and
love to
I
hear
and,
that.
and I got a guy who's using Suma as well, over here in Dallas. That's actually one of the managing partners of my foam and fluid company, but also owns Priority Roofing, and he's using the opportunities for Suma and for Nick. So big
Heck
shout
yeah.
out to you, man. That's a good
Well,
thing.
appreciate you, boys. Appreciate you, boys, for sure. All right. Well, so what I'm gonna do is because we're gonna go deep here. So I want to take a quick break now to thank our sponsors, because then I want to be talking about some sales process stuff, right? And if we got Jonathan Sherwood on the horn, we got to talk about foam and coatings as well. So we're gonna talk about that stuff too. But I think sales process has been such a big deal from the people that we're working with that they're trying to figure out. So we're gonna take the time to make sure while we have you here to maximize that time talking about that stuff. But all right, we're gonna give a quick shout out to our sponsors, and we'll jump back in. Our first headline sponsor, of course, is Job Nimbus.
Job Nimbus is a fully customizable back office solution.
Track leads, jobs, tasks from one easy-to-use software.
And with the largest ecosystem of integrated partners, if we don't do it, we have a friend who does.
Learn how the number one back office system in roofing
can help you be efficient, be organized, be professional, and be profitable.
All right, so if you guys have not checked out Job Nimbus yet, make sure you're doing so at info.jobnimbus.com/roofing-academy. You know we love technology, implementing streamlined business operations and maximize opportunities for your company. So we're going to talk about tech stack today, right? So another tool that you can stack on top of that integrates with it is SumoQuote. Are you looking to stand out with your proposal? SumoQuote is the contractor quote that crushes the competition. It is the fastest way to build custom quotes that impresses clients and wins more work. It's one of those must-have technologies for roofing contractors, allowing them to sell faster, sell more, and sell smarter. Be sure to check them out at try.sumoquote.com/start-build-grow. So make sure you're checking them out, right? Try.sumoquote.com/start-build-grow. And last but not least, our friends over at Hail Trace.
If you're in the hail game, if you're working hail claims and selling roofs that have hail damage, you need to know where the hail is, how big the hail is, and when it hailed. I mean, if you're on the fence, it's a game changer.
So check them out, hailtrace.com. All right, but now back to the show, okay? So we're going to talk about the commercial roofing sales process, right? Now, I think we can all agree it's a very different sales process than residential, right? You go from that transactional sales process to relationship sales process. So let's just start out with the first meeting, right? So you got a meeting, Jonathan. We'll let you start that one out, right? We'll go through this whole sales process. When you first are meeting with a commercial property owner, what's your mindset? What's your approach? What are you trying to achieve in that first meeting?
So what I've tried to do is come up with a method that allows me to take the guesswork out of knowing the client. I believe step one is to know your client. And I've come up with some pretty simple ways on how I choose to do that. And it's worked very well for me and some of my colleagues in the industry. I ask every single client two things and then go over one last statement with them. And here's what it is. I'll ask them when I meet them, what are you looking for in the contractor that you're going to award this project to? I'll get them to go ahead and draw it out themselves, whether it's, am I looking for warranty duration, a specific system? Is it cost? Is it going to be a hold? Are they going to sell this business? Did they have a bad experience? They're looking not to deal with something? Or is there communication errors so that they can tell me? And once they've told me, then once I've had an opportunity to gather the data from the roof and we've talked about it, I know what type of system or systems I'm going to propose to them, and I will come back to them and I will go over that proposal with the potential client, and then I'll ask them this: what would it take for me to earn your business? So I want them to know that it's something I'm willing to work for, and what is it that they're looking for. So what are you looking for in that contractor? And then what would it take for me to be that contractor? And then the last thing that I always leave them with is I tell them that we have a last look policy. Well, what does that actually mean? I'll say, during this time, you may have got multiple bids. That's a pretty industry standard practice. I know we were talking about this single ply roof system that you were looking for with the 20-year NDL fully here, but you may have got bids on other type of systems and maybe you've changed your mind or leaned a different way. And I still want to have the opportunity to be the contractor you select. So if you've got an apple comparison for something that I've already quoted at a lower price point, or maybe you've decided to change your mind a little bit and go with a different system, our organization allows us to do a last look policy that gives an opportunity within reason to beat other competitors quote if it's apples for apples, or provide you with additional bid. And those are the three
Mm,
things that I do to know the client and to keep me in the opportunity to be the contractor that they select.
hmm And yeah. So I mean, you said, I don't remember if it was a conversation we had offline or what it was, but you said a big thing too was just providing options to your client. Do you feel like that's a big benefit that you want people to be focusing on as well? Then.
So it kind of depends. Like this season, let's talk about where I'm currently at. Like it's really hard to get
Yeah,
ISO
true.
right now. It's
True.
hard to get deck plates and fasteners and single ply. Yes, I can get them. When can I get them is usually the question. But then
Yep.
I may have stuff that's more attainable to me right now, like foam and coatings. Yes, a higher price point, but I actually have it and I stocked up to it. So depends on the scenario that I'm in. I may try to sell them on a product that I know is still an efficient system for their investment with the same warranty length based off of availability. Or if we're just talking normal pre-COVID, everybody has everything, then I like to really dial in on what the efficient system is for their investment. What is going to be the best system for that building? Start there. But if they have an additional study they'd like to see, I'm always open and willing to show them that as well. Maybe, for instance, they were thinking about PVC and single ply, TEO. So they have two different types of single ply. I'd want to give them both options, obviously. And then I probably would throw in some type of restoration if it's a candidate for that, just because I'm known for restorations. But yes, I think there's no harm in offering them different things. But I really like to have the client tell me what they're looking for, so I can
hmm
spend more time trying to meet their needs than trying to figure out what the need is.
Yeah. So I mean, how have you guys been juggling that right now with, I mean, both you guys? Randy, we can even start with you too if you want. Is just the shortage of material. And I mean, are you using that in the sales process to create some kind of
Yep.
urgency, or what's going on there?
Well, first thing, just let's take the business lesson here and pay attention to your market.
hmm
Understand what's going on. It's not just materials. In every business, there's always market variables and things that change within different markets and different environments that you got to pay attention to, and you got to adapt and pivot and adjust your business approach to that ever changing market. In this particular case, yeah, if you can't get plates, you can't get ISO, or you're going to be a large delay on that, you can leverage that in a number of different ways. If you
hmm
know that, if you know your market, if you know what's going on, you set yourself up as the expert up front when you're explaining, hey, this is the situation. However, I do have the ability to get this stuff. I may have to get it from a couple different suppliers or ship it in from different areas. We can figure that out. We can make that happen. Or, hey, this stuff is just not going to be available. So we might want to move on this quick, or let me give you some other different options.
hmm
Having those conversations up front and then knowing all that, just you establish yourself as a professional and a knowledgeable in the space. If you're always saying, oh, let me find out, let me figure that out, let me find out, okay, that's a good way as a rookie to kind of do that. But an experienced purchaser of large ticket items like this, they want somebody that knows what they're talking about up front.
Absolutely. What about you, Jonathan? What have you been doing to kind of handle that in the sales process and the material shortage? What are you kind of laying out in terms of expectations and stuff like that?
Buying boatloads of foam and coating so I feel uncomfortable. That's really what I did. I mean, I went through my panic mode, where like everything was increasing, and then first it was like obsolete, right? Then we went through this like, when am I gonna get it? And then it was a significant price increase. So when I could buy, I bought a lot, and then I stored it, and then I also had distribution channels hold on to it for me. But here's a really good kind of nugget on this, because this is what kind of got me through. The roofing business, in my personal opinion, is a relationship business, right? We are a relationship business. And this is where it comes to picking your partners, vendors, distribution, manufacturers. I have great partnerships with my distribution and manufacturers. When you have those good partnerships with them, and it's not always bottom line price, how cheap is my foam, how cheap is my shingles, but it's what can we do for one another? How can you help me? How can we cultivate relationship? They take care of you. So when they do get stuff, you're some of the ones that are taken care of. So this is where we teach all the time in commercial. Like, they have those relationships. So I was taken care of because of the relationships. So between my relationships, purchasing overstock, and just really making sure that I had stuff, all came down to relationship. And then being cash flow savvy and knowing what I could spend. I got a little uncomfortable in some of the spending, but some big stuff came through, and it's like, man, I was so thankful I did that, because if I didn't, I don't know if I could have got the material at that point in time to get that job done.
When did you start to really start to utilize foam and coatings? And what do you think of the future of foam and coatings?
When did so coatings, probably has been using coatings now for about a decade. Foam just shortly after that. Got real heavy into it over like the last 6 or 7 years. And I definitely have seen it really grow. Now, coatings and foam is nothing new. It's been around for a really long time. It just wasn't as prevalent in our marketplaces, Colorado, Texas, as it was in some of the other parts of the United States. Now, as COVID has come and shortage has come, you hear more demand on foam. We don't have ISO. I can't get EPS. I can't get XPS. And then EMS, emergency services. FEMA is approved foam for emergency services. It doesn't blow off like tarps. It doesn't blow off like shrink wraps. And nothing against those services. Those are good. But you see a lot of foam going on in IDA right now. You see a lot of people that are taking scopes of work that were ISO single ply and stuff, and then moving them to foam. Foam tends to have a higher R value than ISO does, so that helps out there. Or they're doing a combination of mechanically fastening some EPS and spraying foam on top of it, then laying down different single plies. There's a lot of different things going on, but I see it growing just because of the availability when there's not the availability of other products. And then the other thing that I've seen, like in the multifamily arena, and that's a great question, is multifamily for me kind of went dead because I work with just multifamily investors. Well, during COVID, the government was stimulating the economy with money, so they didn't know if C and B class multifamily tenants were going to pay their rent when the money stopped coming in for the government. So they just stopped all capex. They were just like, okay, we're doing just repairs. Nobody's doing re-roofs. Nobody's doing any type of restorations. And now they've been forced to charge doing some of the R&M, repair and maintenance on the roofs on some of these buildings, and they're leaning towards the restorations because of the cost effectiveness that there is as far as the replacements or the layovers. So I'm seeing it pick up in CapEx and kind of coming back with multifamily as well. So I think it's stronger than it's been lately. Now, the plus side of that is obviously for guys like myself that have, kind of been just immersed in it and have a good idea on how to do the application part. I think it's good for business.
We lost him there for a sec.
Oh,
And I apologize. Can you guys hear
you're
me?
good, man. Yeah, we got you again.
Okay, sorry about that. So the negative side to that is that you get a lot of people that will just kind of jump in and start doing coatings and foam. And coatings, you can get away with that a little bit, but I don't think there should be people behind foam guns and applicating foam and doing it for other contractors and stuff that they don't know what they're doing. Because that's one of the reasons why people, used to bring a foam and coatings like all it does is peel up, it blisters, it bubbles, the coating peels off. That's poor craftsmanship. just like poor craftsmanship with a hand welder on some single ply. But I get nervous because people are going to ride that wave, and then we're going to get some shoddy work, and it's going to continue to give a bad rap to the foam and coating. So it's like being strategic with who you're working with is a big thing. So there's a plus and the minus to
Mm-hmm.
everything.
Mm-hmm. So, Jonathan, I wanted to ask you too. So, what's the best way to get in touch with you, and when should these commercial contractors be reaching out to you? When's a good time when they're like, hey, I need Sherwood. We know your knowledge level, but when's the right time to be reaching out to you, man?
You know, I just love helping other roofing contractors. I have guys that hit me up on a daily basis and just through Facebook on Messenger, through the video, and ask me questions about stuff. I don't mind getting my brain picked. I'm only one man. Sometimes it may take me a day or so to get back, but I love answering questions. So for me, if you just have some questions, they want to pick my brain, that's fine. Just be understandable that I'm only one guy and I'm very busy, and I'll make sure I get back to you, hopefully within the ample amount of time. But if you're looking to be strategic in it, I think where I can really help and be reached out to is if you're in residential wanting to get into commercial and you got some opportunities and you're wanting to try to get them done. And I'd be a good fit to help with the procurement and the fulfillment. But I think that needs to be packaged with somebody like the Roofing Academy or the CRA and some type of education behind it, because this is the reality of it. It's business, and you don't want to rely on somebody like myself or anybody consistently. You want to duplicate yourself, you want to get educated in it, and you want to propel yourself out appropriately into that marketplace. And there's guys like myself and like Randy that we've, I'll speak for me, have paid the dumb tax. I don't want to say that about Randy, but paid the dumb tax. And
You
so
got it.
if you meet with us, you don't have to pay that dumb tax. So yes, our time has to be compensated, but it's nothing in comparison to the screw ups that I made. So I think getting somebody like myself or Randy in the beginning, if you need help with something, packaging it with some type of coaching or somebody in the industry that's competent in what it is that you're shooting for and how you want to develop it, and reaching out for questions. So really any time, but kind of coming up with a plan. Like, remember, we started this whole conversation off with coming up with a plan. Let's say you get on a large metal roof. You've seen one of my videos. Well, that's probably a good time to contact me so we can target that. But what are we going to do after that? It might be time to sit in some classroom time at the Roofing Academy and then try to move into what it is that you're doing. It might be time to go to the CRA. It might be time to kind of, maybe it's Hague Commercial. I don't know. I'm just kind of spitballing things out there, but strategically planning, but reaching out. I would say the best time to reach out, if you were to ask me that, is when you fall into a commercial roof that you don't know what the hell you're doing. Get with somebody that knows what they're doing in the industry and start there. But then don't just look at it that one thing. Look at how you can use that as that obstacle as your opportunity to push into commercial field, or see if you're ready. Maybe you need to link up with a more experienced industry peer for a little while until you're financially ready and set, because we say it all the time. And in fact, I've heard Randy say this before. A little bit of something is better than none. It's like why take the risk if you're not ready? And I know you guys are very dialed in on being ready for the stuff that you do. That's part of even being a coach. So it's like being able to be honest with yourself with where you're at, and utilizing what you have to get yourself moving into that commercial space.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, man. And so
I've done that, like, early on, trying to learn, reach out to people that I knew what I wanted to learn, right? You paid the dumb tax, but
yep.
early on when I had no clue and I had a commercial roof on my lap when I was selling and doing those, and it's like, all right, I'm going to find someone to partner up with them. I did that a little while, and then we were able to build our own department, hire people. I was able to invest and hire experts and put up my own team together that are experts. And now we've done that for other people. I have clients or random people that'll say, hey man, I got this, big commercial job. We'll partner up on the deal, work the deal together. I mean, do you want a small piece of a big pie, or you want the whole pie that's really small? And the risk. So you nailed it with that. But if you really, if you're really interested, and this is something that you are planning on, like, hey, I want to really be intentional about building a strategic plan for my business. I want to grow into commercial. I want to grow into service, and I want to, do this the right way. I think the best thing to do for you right now, and Nick, if you want to post the link, we're taking applications. We only have a very limited amount of space for, I think it's too late. I'm going to see you on this weekend at the Commercial Roofing Academy. But after that, we have in January in Denver, it's this Growth Mastermind. If you want to connect with Jonathan and myself and Paul and and Steve C. Patrick and a number of other people, that's the place to do it. It's
Mm-hmm.
an intimate setting. You'll be able to spend 3 days with us, unlimited, like, sit by lunch, hanging out, happy hours, doing the whole deal of special events we have planned, and really, really, really get to connect with some of the best, most experienced people, good-hearted, genuine, high-integrity people, leaders in the industry, all in one place at one time for 3 days. That's what I would recommend is
Mm-hmm.
getting on the list, putting your application in, and seeing if you can if we can have room to get you set up to join us at the Growth Mastermind in January in Denver.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm excited. I'm excited for that.
dude, it's gonna be a great time, man. We can't wait for it. And so I threw the link in here, right? So for the people listening to the podcast, it's the roofingacademy.com/growth mastermind 2022 invite. The reason why it's invite is because you do have to apply. All right. So make sure you hit the apply now button, fill out the information why you want to attend, what you want to learn, and then from there we'll be sending out the invites on November 1st. All right. We did have some comments on here though that I just wanted to go through. We had Philip on here said dropping bombs left and right. We had Danny Grimes. He said, "This is my first year in roofing. I've been successful building a relationship with property management companies. I'm thankful roofing found me." That's awesome. We had Mr. John Dye. He's out here in Denver. He said, "This Sherwood guy is pretty smart." I don't know if you guys ever talked to John Dye. Yeah. Let's see what else here.
uh,
But
I
he's
don't know
actually
I
out in
about
love
that.
Denver.
John Dye.
Don't give him too much credit.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, actually, his head's gonna be getting big over here. He is
Yeah.
pretty smart though. But yeah, John's actually out here in Denver for his courses or his events that he's
Yeah,
having.
man. I get
So
to hang out with John tomorrow, and it'll be good times. He's got a course here. Jonathan, you'll be here this weekend, right?
Yes, I'm
Yeah,
excited to
I'll
see
see you
you
there.
guys.
Yeah.
I'll be landing in Denver tomorrow night. But back onto the growth mastermind for a second. What
yeah,
and I know it's in January. What days is it?
It's the
Do we know what
13th.
day it is yet?
good
Yep.
call.
13th?
13th through the
Yeah.
15th. It's a
Hmm.
Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And 3 days. I mean, we did one 2 years ago. And here's the thing. We only had, I think, 70 people. That was a small, just lucrative, right? Lucrative. This time we're gonna about 150, but that's all we got room for. Um, I had everybody filled a survey, and nothing but tens and nines on the survey, right? Just amazing feedback. The biggest, I can't even say complaint, but the biggest piece of feedback I got that was pretty consistent was, we need more commercial education and we need more time. Because the first one I did was only
Mm.
2 days.
Hmm.
So I'm like, no,
Exactly.
okay, I'm going to listen to that. We're going for 3 days. Be ready to work on your business. Okay. You're not just sitting there listening to some yeehaw. Don't get me wrong. You're not sitting there getting all motivated and all pumped up, ready to go. This is literally working on your business, bringing your partner, bringing your leadership team, your managers in your company, working on your business for 3 days with facilitated by, guys like Jonathan, myself, and my coaching team. And we added the whole commercial component. We added time, 3 days, and you're leaving there with an amazing, game plan, ready to just absolutely dominate in 2022.
Hmm. Heck
And
yeah,
it's at
man.
the Ritz, man. I mean, you can't beat that.
Yeah, right.
Like,
Come on, man.
downtown Denver, Ritz Carlton.
Heck
It's gonna be good.
yeah. Heck
That's
yeah, man.
awesome.
Yeah. Well, hey, what are you guys Broncos? Are they gonna get together or what's the deal here, man? What's going on?
Man,
Four
I don't
straight
know.
losses, dude.
I used to think that I knew about two things: commercial roofing and Broncos football. I only know about one thing: commercial roofing. I, I don't know. I get depressed watching them, man, and I'm a diehard Broncos fan. It's like,
Bro.
man, what are we doing? We couldn't tackle on Thursday. We couldn't tackle for anything.
Yeah, man.
There
It's
was just
looking
no way. But
rough, dude.
I'm going to the game. We're
Give
playing the Washington
Javonta
football
the
team on
ball.
Hey, you're
Halloween.
gonna be there, Sherwood? I'm gonna be there too, so we'll have to link up.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah,
be
we'll
there.
link up
Yes, sir.
before or something.
Halloween.
Halloween, baby. All right, hey guys. So we ended here. We're gonna start to close it out. Where we ended on the golden nugget always, right? So we ended with one
Ah.
last thing you want to leave the viewers with. It could be something to implement, something to avoid. It could be a word of wisdom. It could be a life lesson. It could be a Bible verse. You would let me know. It doesn't matter. So we always make Randy go first. That way the guest gets a little time to think about what they want to talk about. So my dude, Randy, what we got?
I'm just gonna steal directly from my man Stephen Covey, and because it goes right along the lines with, you know, um, going to conferences and planning and surrounding yourself with people to educate yourself to learn what you want to learn. And the takeaway is sharpen your saw.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, no matter where you are in life, no matter where you are, what level of business you are, if you're an owner, if you're still working somewhere, whatever you're doing, if you've watching, if you're listening to this, the best piece of advice I can give is always be learning. Sharpen the saw. Find ways to continue to get sharp, to continue to master your craft, no matter what it is. So, the
Sharp your
mastermind
saw.
is a perfect opportunity to do that.
Awesome. Sherwood, we can
love it.
end this with, man.
For me is it's what's people watching. What's stopping you? I know there's been many times where I've watched episodes of podcasts, I've gone to conferences, or I've like, I want to get commercial, I want to do this, and then as soon as I'm done watching, I go back to the same cycle of recidivism of thinking about it and not doing it. So it's
Mm-hmm.
what's stopping you. You miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. Randy
Let's
just
go.
got on here and told you that you can fill out an application to sit at the feet of some of the most influential pillars in this industry that have made all the mistakes, because that's really what happened, to get us to where I'm at, to where you don't have to make those mistakes. So if you're watching, fill out the application. If you don't get in this time, push until you get in the next time. But the people that are watching, if you thought about commercial, it's time to really step out and do something about it. Let's say you're sitting there saying, I don't have the money. I vetted myself. I'm being transparent with myself. But you know what? You have the time to connect with somebody, to get on a few roofs and bring somebody in and use some of those dollars, getting a little bit of something instead of
Yep.
nothing, to help move yourself into that commercial space. So it's what's stopping you. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. That's my nugget for
Heck
today.
yeah. Hey, well,
Love
Sherwood,
it.
man.
Let's go.
Yeah, thanks for so much. I know you had a busy day. You're running all over the place. You're driving home, trying to make it happen, picking up the kiddo, right? So thanks for stopping by, hanging out with us, and providing some value for our
Yeah, we
viewers.
got
And
little Sherwood in the
yeah, we
background
got a little
sleeping the
Sherwood in the
whole
Yeah.
back
time.
over
We're
here. Yeah,
good.
right. Being a good
Little
boy.
baby Jay sleeping. Yeah, he's sleeping back
Yeah,
there.
what up, dude? Great
Well, I'm
work to him.
excited to see you guys, man. And it's just an honor and blessing to be on your guys' show. 171 episodes. I'm going to see all of you guys in Denver here really, really soon. I think that's great. And I really appreciate it, man. Thank you
Yes, man.
Let's
guys.
Thank you
go.
so much. Everybody, thanks for
Take care.
tuning in to
God
episode
bless.
171 of the Start Bill Grow
God
Show.
bless you guys.